Is this WGA writer strike the end of entertainment as we know it? Let's take a look.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, I don't mean to start this video with such an ominous statement without proof to back it up, but this very well could be the end of the entertainment industry as we know it. But of course, that doesn't mean it's the end of Hollywood. Things will more than likely change as a result of the strike, and possibly not in a good way.
Let's take a look at what caused the Writers Guild of America, or WGA, to order a strike. The WGA is basically a union, just like any other, but instead of trade workers like roofers or plumbers, the WGA represents writers, specifically screenwriters. In fact, there are quite a few organizations within the entertainment industry that focuses on workers. Directors have the Directors Guild of America, or DGA. Actors have Screen Actors Guild, or SAG. And the International Alliance of Theatrical State Employees, or IATSE, represents many of the behind-the-scenes workers like grips, sound effects, costume, and wardrobe.
The question is, why did the WGA call for the strike?
According to my studies, the WGA and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, AMPTP, who represent the major film studios along with Netflix and other streaming services, negotiate their contract every 3 years. Now, most of the time, it goes as planned, and a deal is struck and entertainment goes on like clockwork. But sometimes, the demands of the WGA are not met, and a strike can happen if the members of the WGA vote yes. By the way, this present strike had an overwhelming 97.85% voting yes to strike, so yeah, they definitely had a majority there. The last time this happened was in 2007, and some of the issues at the time revolved around residuals for DVD sales. Wow, those were the days, weren't they? Also, issues stemming from reality TV and how writers specifically play into that. Because, reality TV really isn't reality. It'd be pretty boring if it was. I actually remember the last strike, and it sucked. It interrupted a lot of television shows and movies, and some of them never really recovered. A good example would be the 2008 James Bond follow-up movie to Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace. The script had been delivered to the production team very shortly before the strike, and the script was bare bones. During the production, the director, Mark Foster, couldn't employ any professional writer to fine-tune the script. So in many cases, Daniel Craig himself took a shot at writing, and the final result showed Daniel Craig, as talented of an actor he is not a writer.
This time, some of the reasons behind the strike are:
wages have not kept up with inflation. A screenwriter's median salary is 23% less from the previous decade once you adjust for inflation. One of the main reasons for this would be the fact that the entertainment industry is moving away from the previous broadcast model and moving toward a newer streaming model. Back in the day, a successful television show would have anywhere from 22 to 26 episodes, and the writers could count on anywhere from 6 to 9 months worth of work a year. Also, it wasn't uncommon for a writer to be on the set to answer any questions that the actors or the director may have about a script. This would help an ambitious writer educate him or herself in the process of television making. There have been a few current showrunners that started their careers that way, all starting with the position of a writer. But now with streaming shows, the allotted time for writers has slimmed down to a fraction of what it used to be. Currently, by necessity, the way to ensure a writer can make a living doing what they do is to secure as many jobs as possible. But even this has been difficult with the rise of something called a mini room. These are scaled down versions of a writer's room that would basically help flesh out a couple of episodes after a pilot. Often, that would be the extent of their employment. Needless to say, writers of a mini room are paid significantly less than a full writer's room. Another concern the WGA has is better residual payments for the writers with streaming shows. Previous to the rise of the streaming revolution, writers were rewarded when a show hit 100 episodes. That was the magic number for a show to enter what's called syndication. This basically meant that older episodes of the show could be played on local, smaller networks. And this was the real moneymaker of the broadcast TV business model. And the residuals were a way for the creators of the show to share in the continued success. Now, in today's climate, 100 episodes of a show isn't needed anymore, since content is pretty much made specifically for a streaming service. Also, there are no real metrics to measure the success of a show, since the previous method of measuring a show's success, like Nielsen ratings, don't do well with streaming services. So far, the best way to tell if a show is doing well is the top 10 on Netflix. It's no secret that streamers pay less for their writers than network television. One of the biggest issues facing screenwriters is the emergence of artificial intelligence, or AI. Sites like ChatGPT, now mind you, currently AI does not think on its own, but it does do a good job of compiling information from the internet and serving it back to you in a well thought out piece of writing, kinda. But in a couple years, it's not out of the question for a site like ChatGPT to research all the stories in existence and pump out content. Again, this will not be new content, but combined from many different sources, giving the impression of original thought and ideas. Then all a studio would have to do is hire one writer to humanize this hodgepodge story.
How will this affect entertainment?
Several shows like HBO Hacks, Apple TV Plus's Severance have had their productions paused. The late night shows like The Tonight Show and Last Week Tonight have also taken a break due to the strike. Shows like The Handmaid's Tale, Billions, and the wildly successful The Last of Us, and the upcoming Daredevil Born Again have all been impacted by the strike. The final season of Stranger Things has also been a victim. Hopefully the kids are still relatively young enough to film the season, if and when they ever do. If not, these could be the adventures of their teenage kids. And that could be interesting. And I would be on board still. I like that show. On the movie front, the much anticipated Marvel Studios version of Blade has had their pre-production halted due to the strike. But to be fair, that particular movie has already had its fair share of issues. Luckily, Deadpool 3, Captain America New World Order, and the Thunderbolts all have finished scripts and are proceeding on time.
How long can the strike last?
Who's to say? It depends on if the WGA and the AMPTP can come to an agreement and ink a new contract. But just for some perspective, the last writer's strike in 2007 lasted 100 days. Another possibility that isn't out of left field is that the Screen Actors Guild and the Directors Guild of America, and even the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees could join the WGA in their strike. If that were to happen, I suspect the strike would end very quickly, since they would basically have no one to get things done.
When it comes down to it, just like many other professions, people are working more for less money. A career that once could provide more than enough to support a family no longer does. This is something a lot of us can relate to. Will the WGA get what they're asking for? I think they'll get some of it, but not all. Things will eventually go back to a new normal. But when it comes down to it, the WGA has not kept up with changing technologies. And I hate to say it, but they seem to be part of a dying system. The studios with streaming services, on the other hand, have done a great job keeping up with the times. They've done this by maximizing profits. Keep wages low, keep profits high. And I don't know what this means for the future screenwriters of Hollywood, but those are just my ideas, and I would love to hear yours. Feel free to express yourself in the comment section. And as always, fare thee well, my friends, and take care. Cue the music.